The Stockholm Declaration, formerly the Declaration of the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment, was adopted in June 1972 at a landmark UN conference in Stockholm, Sweden. It is widely recognized as the foundational document of modern international environmental law and the first global effort to make environmental protection a matter of international concern. The 26 principles in the Declaration are composed of a preamble and 26 guiding principles that connect human rights, economic development, and planetary health. Key themes include the right to a healthy environment. People have the fundamental right to freedom, equality, and adequate living conditions in an environment of equality that permits a life of dignity. Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, resource protection. Natural resources, air, water, land, flora, and fauna, must be carefully safeguarded for the benefit of present and future generations. No transboundary harm. States have the sovereign right to exploit their own resources, but they share a responsibility to ensure these activities do not cause damage to the environment of other states. Prevention of pollution. The discharge of toxic substances and the release of heat must be halted, so that ecosystems are not subjected to serious or irreversible damage. International Maritime Organization, why it matters. Creation of UNEP. The conference led directly to the establishment of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP, the primary global authority that sets the environmental agenda. Welcome to the United Nations +1 Bridging Development and the Environment. It marked the beginning of a critical dialogue between industrialized and developing nations, acknowledging that poverty itself negatively impacts the environment, and that development must go hand in hand with conservation. The action plan alongside the declaration, participating nations adopted an action plan featuring 109 specific recommendations. This plan formed the blueprint for global environmental monitoring, management, and international cooperation. India was a signatory to the Stockholm Declaration, and the then Prime Minister Mrs. Indira Gandhi created enormous impact over the minds of the people through her deliberation. Principle 26 talks about the prohibition of the nuclear weapons through the cooperation of the states. The Stockholm Declaration of 1972, or the Declaration of the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment, was the first United Nations declaration on the global environment. Stockholm Declaration. Declaration of the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment was adopted on 16 June 1972. It was the first international document to make the global environment a central issue, laying the foundation for modern international environmental law and sustainable development. Key features: 26 principles. It outlines fundamental international policies for environmental protection, including the right to a healthy environment, state responsibility to prevent environmental damage, and population management. Birth of UNEP. It directly led to the establishment of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. Intergenerational equity. It emphasizes that the Earth's natural resources should be protected for the benefit of both present and future generations. On 5 June 1972, the United Nations Conference on the Human Environment was held in Stockholm, Sweden. During this conference, the Stockholm Declaration was adopted, which is considered the foundation of the global environmental movement. The Stockholm Declaration contained 26 important principles. Its main objective was to establish a balance between human development and environmental protection. According to the first principle, every individual has the fundamental right to live in a clean and healthy environment. At the same time, everyone has a responsibility to protect and improve the environment. The Declaration emphasized the conservation of natural resources such as air, water, land, flora, and fauna. These resources must be preserved for future generations. The Stockholm Declaration promoted pollution control, protection of the oceans, and sustainable development. Development should take place in a way that does not harm the environment. Following this conference, international cooperation on environmental issues increased, and the path was paved for the establishment of the United Nations Environment Program, UNEP. The Stockholm Declaration reminds us that the Earth does not belong only to us, but also to future generations. Protecting the environment is our collective responsibility. The Stockholm Declaration. adopted at the UN Conference on the Human Environment in June 1972, is the foundational document of international environmental law. It established 26 core principles linking human rights and economic development with environmental protection, and directly led to the creation of the United Nations Environment Programme, UNEP. The first World Conference on the Environment, the 1972 United Nations Conference on the Human Environment in Stockholm, was the first world conference to make the environment a major issue. The participants adopted a series of principles for sound management of the environment, including the Stockholm Declaration and Action Plan for the Human Environment. The Stockholm Declaration, which contained 26 principles, placed environmental issues at the forefront of international concerns, and marked the start of a dialogue between industrialized and developing countries on the link between economic growth, the pollution of the air, water, and oceans, and the well-being of people around the world.